people should really be talking about how we can build better and what materials are available, and sort of just dropping this knowledge of that, this idea of that's how we've always done it and that's what we know and that's what we're going to continue to do, when there are better pathways, there are better ways to build that aren't necessarily hugely more expensive. This perception that building better is building so much more, putting more money into every project is actually a fallacy when the design is done right from the beginning.
I think one of the misconceptions there are with building a high-performance home is the cost. But you've got to look at it again as a holistic approach. It may cost you more in the outset, like a balanced ventilation system or insulating your foundation, which has become more normal now anyway with the new H1 upgrades, high performance windows, all that sort of stuff. But if you break it down, it may cost you another couple of grand to insulate your foundation properly, Balanced ventilation systems could start anywhere from $3,000 upwards. Obviously, the more better quality you go, the more you pay. Windows, some of the imported windows from Europe are very cost comparative to the triple glazed European windows are more cost comparative than the thermally broken aluminium ones. Obviously, all still fit for purpose. Better insulation doesn't cost a hell of a lot more, but then you add all that up, it might add 20 to 30k onto the build. But what is your health worth? Your kids going to the doctor every 5 minutes because you're in your new code minimum home, you've got black mold forming on your walls. It's just not good.
But we have to make it sort of affordable. We have to find ways that people who might not have the big budget available, that they still live in good houses. And we can do that by just telling them, start here, maybe think about reducing the size of the house. Do you really need the third bedroom if you are just two people? Maybe reduce that or take that bedroom away and put that money into quality, into better materials, into air tightness, into heat recovery ventilation system, because on the long run, those things will reduce the running costs. You might pay a little bit more now, but over the time, you will get it back.
If you're building a super home or a high performance home, yes, it costs a little bit more up front. I don't think anyone is going to tell you that it's not going to cost any more than the standard off the shelf spec build. But it's an investment for the next 15, 20, 25 years. And if that's the type of home that you're going to be in for the next 15 or 20 years, then that investment pays itself back, not only in things like heat recovery, but in your health. And then less energy use as well. So there's lots of benefits to building those homes that you're going to be in for a long period of time as super homes.
And we can prove to them that the capital costs they make on that is going to be an immediate return on the energy efficiency and health of their house. We sort of kind of worked out with the majority of people that come to see us that if we aim for the Homestar 7 to 8, we're hitting a really good price point where people are getting a lot of bang for their buck. They're getting the better air tightness, they're getting the better insulation, they're getting the lower running costs, they're getting better durability in terms of resilience for earthquake and those sorts of things.
Once you've built a house which has got better insulation, lower thermal bridging, good windows, the required heating demand for that house is going to be a lot less. So in the long run, it's actually going to save the client a lot more money in reduced energy bills.
That's what you call a high performance home. That's why you have a super home, because we're not losing the energy that we're creating in the home. We're not having the intrusion of cold coming into the home because it's a high performance home, and so your net cost is lower. It might have cost a little bit more to build, but at the end of the day it costs less to run and is more comfortable and more healthy. It makes sense. Yeah, it makes sense.
The other side to that is that because we produce what I believe is the healthiest home, there's these ongoing costs that people don't see behind the fact. There's less chance of asthma, there's less medical bills coming through, there's a massive impact from there. We try and work in a zero waste space, which means not carting rubble away from a site. So there's all these added benefits, and the speed of construction, you start to layer that out, and you look at people that are building a house, they're taking out home financing, they're paying rent at the same time. All these costs, if you start bringing those costs, you think broadly on those savings, we become a lot cheaper. And then just with Superhome, by building within all these 10 parameters that they've set, the cost of your day-to-day running comes down. So, when people talk costs and you walk out there and you say it's a square meter cost, that needs to be taken away. And you need to add what I like to term as a cost of life. It's a cost of ownership.
Love a house, but have you ever thought about how much it costs to operate on that weekly, monthly basis? And if you can get a house that is cheap to operate, especially as you go into your retirement years, that if we can help you get to that point where saying, actually, I've got this house, I've invested in it, and I don't pay anything per month, you're onto a winner. If you look proportionally to the cost of houses, it's maybe 1%. But how much of a return does it give you? Wow.
In terms of solar, most people come to us for one of two reasons. Saving money is important, but doing the right thing environmentally is very important as well. And from a carbon perspective, the payback period of putting solar on your home is very, very quick. It's about 2 years from when we install the panels to when we've offset enough carbon from that process. And that means we make a real positive impact on the climate and the changing atmosphere that we're achieving. In terms of solar as a decision to make on a home, we see really good power savings as well for most customers, but particularly those who choose to go the superhome movement, because your consumption is a lot lower than homes that don't have that. So what that means is we can design a system a lot smaller than if your home isn't as energy efficient. And we model the energy consumption that's going to be used in the home, and we build a system to achieve a big offset of what that consumption is. Generally, with a daytime system, we're trying to cover about 60% of what they use in a 12-month period. With a battery system, we can go all the way up to 80 or even 100%. So what that means is in a real-life installation, a super home, we can generate more power than the home actually consumes in a 12-month period.
One of the conversations we have is the trade-off between size and performance of a build. And it's surprising how many have their heads around that. So one of the things I really like about some of Bob's designs is that well thought out in terms of the use of space. If you can reduce space and increase the spec, think a lot more carefully about how you use every square metre inside your house. My belief is you can afford the good stuff, whether it's the windows or the insulation or whatever.
Kevin McLeod, Grand Designs, many years ago talked about we would get better design outcomes if people just made their buildings 10% smaller and spent the money that they would have otherwise spent on making them 10% better. So 200 square metre house, whatever the budget is, make it 180 square metres, take that money and make the improvement.
Often said as the KISS, keep it simple. It's really true. Don't try to get a very complex shape of a building to fit into as a super home or energy efficient home. It will be tough to achieve that. And it's not, I think design is not based on the complexity of the building shape. It's actually based on a lot of other factors.